Hey everyone, and welcome to the second episode of Unmasking, a show built around learning from dentists and entrepreneurs who are building, operating, and executing at the highest level, and also where we go deep into the true realities behind working in dentistry. Today, I'm joined by someone who is a previous dental influencer of the year, has created an audience of over 55,000 followers on social media, and is a driven entrepreneur who is turning the field of dentistry on its own head. Dr. Avi Patel, thank you so much for coming on the show, and how are you doing?
Hey, thanks for having me, man. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm super pumped for this. I know we were just talking a little about it off camera, but this is interesting because I'm assuming most of the guests that have been on your show and then also people that have interviewed you for their own podcasts have probably been dentists themselves or, someone that's a little bit more established in the field. And here you are being interviewed by high schoolers. So hopefully we can put on a show and deliver some valuable insights to our audience. But yeah, I mean, let's just get straight into it. One of the reasons that I was really excited that you actually agreed to do this is that, you've obviously built your own personal brand over the past several years. And to me, it seems that you just give out so much valuable advice. And that's not to just a specific person in the field of dentistry. You could be a student in dental school or someone that's practicing or not even practicing or doing actual surgery, but just kind of like what you're doing with your own company, solving a niche problem within the field. And I think that is super valuable because in social media nowadays, we see a lot of false truths and people are just portraying themselves in an image that doesn't really depict who they are. And, they could be doing it for money or fame or status or whatever the case is. But it seems like gatekeeping isn't in your dictionary. So I sort of just want to start off with that. Like, where did this idea and inspiration of building a personal brand come from?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad. I love talking about this. So, first of all, it doesn't matter whether you're in high school, dentist, doesn't matter. Like, the thing is everybody has a platform. It's just a matter of if they want to use it, right? So, for you, you're having conversations with people, and this is going to go on social media, and people are going to hear it and see it. Like, that is the beauty of the time that we live in right now. So, don't try to, don't discredit what you're doing. Like, you're doing the thing. This is it. So for me, it was very similar. I didn't start off with a podcast. I started off by sharing tips and tricks on how to do clear aligners. And so kind of before any of that happened, right, just diving a little bit into my journey, I got into dentistry because my uncle was a dentist. I saw the way he was living his life, and I liked this concept of having time, money, and fulfillment. So it's right. It's something that a lot of dentists have, and so being Indian, my parents wanted me to choose right, like doctor, dentist, engineer, lawyer. I didn't want to do. I was terrible. I never was big into like reading and writing. So like being an attorney was out. They kind of did this all by process of elimination. I was good at
Yeah.
math, but like engineer sounded boring. And then
Hmm.
I didn't want to go to med school because I just didn't want to have to like go like work in a hospital for that long.
Hmm.
But the story behind that is when I was shadowing my uncle while he was in the practice, he had a dinner party. And at that dinner party, he had a buddy of his who was a neurosurgeon. And so we were talking, and he was basically, right, telling me, hey, you got to decide. Do you want to do like sports med or go be a dentist? Like one's medical school, the other's dental school. And, at the time, like he's talking to me. I think I was an undergrad at the time. And I was like, why is this guy like, I asked him, like, hey, why are you talking to me? Why aren't you hanging out and having fun with everybody else? It's like, it's a Friday night. He's like, oh, I'm on call. And so I'm like, oh. So in my mind, I'm like, well, this is not how I want to spend my Friday nights when I'm like 40 years old. So I was just like, let me, I'm going to go in this direction. And I chose
Hmm.
dentistry. So, I say that because it's the reality. Like a lot of people have their own reasons as to why they choose the profession. And with dentistry, like that is the honest truth. Like I wasn't obsessed with teeth, never had a cavity. My parents barely took me to the
Hmm.
dentist when I was younger. They chose like an Indian dentist that was like 50 minutes away. So like they did not take us twice a year.
Yeah.
But I got in, and then I thought when I got out of dental school that it was going to be this amazing thing. Like I was going to work like 3-4 days a
Hmm.
week, be able to golf, have a nice car. I thought the money would just be pouring in. And
Hmm.
that's just not how it works. When I got out, I was working 6 days a week. I was working in multiple practices. I was not making a lot. I was just trying to like find my footing and just really trying to learn and improve. And then kind of got to a place where I actually like burnt out. So I was just a couple years in, pandemic hit. And that's when I realized like, hey, there's got to be something more here. Like maybe I need to learn something or do something different. And that's when my wife and I moved down to Austin. And then in Austin, I worked for a DSO and they gave us access to like an implant course and then some mentors for clear liners. And so I was like, cool, I'm going to do that. I did both. And, with the liners, pretty much started 50 cases in 6 months. Each aligner case is $5,000. So that was like 250K in production that was coming in. A lot of money. Granted, you get a percentage of that as an associate. You don't get all
Yeah.
of it, but it was the most amount that I made in that period of time. And that allowed for me to, feel good about what I was doing. And so the very next thing was like, well, why aren't more people doing this? And one of the
Mhm.
dentists that I was working with, he was older and he asked me, he's like, hey, what are you doing? Like, how are you having like $100,000 months and like, you're not even, you're barely in the chair, you're on your computer all day. And I told him like, I'm doing clear aligners. And so he was like, can you teach me? So he was like the first person who I taught, mentored him on how to do it. He started having success. Then I went to the DSO leadership and I asked them if I could kind of basically work one less clinical day and then have an official position to like coach and mentor these docs. And then they basically said, you're too young. They're like, no one's going to listen to you. You need to just stay in the chair, keep practicing. And, eventually like, maybe something will happen. And so then my wife was like, why don't you just go and just start coaching and consulting on the side? And so I was like,
Mhm.
okay, like I'll try that. Didn't know what that meant or how to do it. And that's when I started posting on social. And then so that's where I was like, I read this book called 10X Rule by Grant Cardone. And he talks about
Mhm.
basically setting goals like 10 times higher than you normally would, because it takes the same amount of energy to go after something, whether it's, a 5X goal or a 10X goal. So he's like, just set the goal at 10X. So that way you go. Because anytime you reach the initial goal that you thought you wanted to achieve, you actually don't feel fulfilled. And then you stop. So I said this like 10X goal. And then he also talked about omnipresence, and omnipresence is where you're showing up pretty much everywhere. And the way to do that is through social media. So that is where I started basically giving tips and tricks, learned how to make reels, posting every single day on Instagram. And I was making weekly YouTube videos, and
Mhm.
I didn't really know what I was doing. Like there's no, I was watching YouTube videos to learn how to make YouTube videos. And then I was watching Instagram reels to learn how to make Instagram
Learn how
reels.
to
And I
make
just
it,
kept
sure.
doing that.
Yeah.
And then eventually, I turned like the one-on-one coaching into like an online course. A mentor reached out and he basically walked me through how to do that. So I started doing that. And then you kind of snowball that in. And then eventually got to a place where, this was the thing that got me excited every day to wake up and build, because I saw the opportunity and the impact that I could have, not just on like other dentists,
Mhm.
but like, you teach and empower a bunch of dentists how to do this procedure. They're going to go and impact thousands of patients. So that is what really still in this whole ethos of like time, money, and fulfillment. And that's what really pushed me forward to continue to do it. So personal brand, I didn't know I was building a personal brand when I did it, but I was posting
Mhm.
from one page and I was sharing, yes, I was sharing tips and tricks on aligners, but then I was also sharing like my perspective on the industry. I was sharing stories about my life. I was sharing stories about dental. And that is what then bubbles into the personal brand. And it is, it is an absolute asset, and it opens up so many doors that you couldn't even imagine.
It's the ultimate amplifier, right? Um, I mean, just like you mentioned there, I feel like there's been a surge of influencers lately, and you're right though, it just opens up so many doors. Like I mean, hopefully this turns out to be a successful endeavor in the future, but I'm glad that I've started now. And like you said earlier, it's not just about obviously staying true to what you do, but the focus should be on providing valuable information because that will get you traction faster than anything else will, right? Regardless of what you post about. And just to go back earlier, you mentioned you had mentors as well throughout this process, right? How did that sort of like look like? Because I think the process of getting mentors now is definitely a lot different than it used to be. And
Yeah.
social media has definitely played a huge role in that. So could you like speak to that a little bit? Because I think that'd be super valuable for people like me too.
Yeah. So mentors don't just like they don't come to you. Like, you have to go to them. And the only way that you can go to them is if you know what you want or what direction you want to grow in, right? And even if you don't know exactly what you want, if you have an idea and you feel like that person knows about the thing that you want to do, reach out. Like, it's actually 10 times easier today than it is before to get a mentor, because like they're on social media. Like, just DM them, comment on their stories, right? Like their videos, comment on their videos, like be supportive, like support them, because if they're making content, the first thing you can do is you can support what they do. And then if you support what they do, they're way more likely to see you and respond, because at the end of the day, like most of the pages, not all, but most of the pages, there's humans behind it. Like, it's a person
Mhm.
posting, right? So it's like, it feels nice to have people like and comment on your stuff. And they know, especially when it's consistent. So I would say the first thing is, right, you do that, you reach out to them. For me, my mentors, it was kind of like that. One of them, the one that taught me how to do aligners, they put on a webinar, and I attended. And then they said, hey, if you need help with your clin checks, just reach out to me. So I was just emailing them and they were responding. And so like, it was never like, hey, will you be my mentor? It was just, they were helping me. And then that is, right, an assumptive mentor in that regard.
Mhm.
And then the other one, Dr. Ranesh, he reached out to me because he saw what I was doing. And he's
Mhm.
like, hey, man, I see what you're doing. I would love to support you. So that was, and so that came because I was doing, right? I was doing the thing. I didn't necessarily
Mhm.
know everything, but I was doing the thing. And so when you do the thing and you share that, people will take note, they will see. And if it's meant to be, right, somebody will reach out, and then that's what can help elevate you. But even if they
Mhm.
don't, and there's other people that you want to reach out to, like, just reach out to them. And if they can help you, they will. But think of mentors like, the right way to think about mentors is, don't look at them to be like your end all be all or like your one person. Like, you should have like a boardroom of mentors, right? And
Mhm.
you should have like several people that you're pulling from and getting advice from. And here's the beauty is, you don't even have to actually have a conversation with them. They could be someone who has a podcast. Listen to their podcast,
Mhm.
because chances are on their podcast, they're giving away the sauce. So just
Mhm.
listen to that and then go do it. And you can listen to 10 different, right? You can have 10 different mentors. Like, you can have someone on like personal development, business, relationships, life. Like, just listen to their stuff. All of a sudden, they're mentoring you. Uh, and then your chances are, if you do what they say, you're going to improve your life. So that's how I would kind of look at mentorship these days.
I think that last part that you just mentioned is actually super crucial, and it's probably, again, easier with social media nowadays. And the thing with posting content, I feel like, is that if you're creating a personal brand, and I think you mentioned this on one of your videos, I could be wrong, but you posting content is almost an asset in itself, right? Because if you take a dental student, or if you take a dentist and one of them is posting content and the other one isn't, let's take a dentist for example, right? If someone is hiring a dentist that posts content, that can naturally attract patients to that practice or whatever, right? And the good part about that is that it's just free marketing almost, and that's from the content that the dentist is putting out. I mean, I think it just connects to this because social media is the great amplifier nowadays, and I am really glad that you actually touched on that point. With your journey a little bit, do you ever recall like a specific moment where your personal brand took off, or was it just sort of you went with the process and things just sort of just naturally followed?
Yeah, took off can mean like two things, right? Like, took off in views happened before the takeoff in opportunities. There was a lag, right? So like in the summer of 23, if I'm not mistaken, it's either 23 or 24. I started making I started sharing less about clear liners and more just about my perspective on the industry. And like, one of the reels went viral, and it just talked about, like, I made an Instagram reel that talked about like the toxic cycle of dentistry, and how like doctors will come out, they're expecting mentorship,
Hmm.
they don't get it, so then they think they can go open their own practice. And then they open their own practice, and then they realize like, okay, they want an associate, but then they don't train the associate. And so it's like, it's a toxic cycle.
Go, yeah.
And so I called that out, and then a whole bunch of people like just blowing up the comments. Like, that's when Instagram kind of popped with views. And then on YouTube, right around the same time, I talked about like why suicide rate is so high in dentistry. And I just mapped out like all the things that can happen to you as a dentist and why that can stack up. And that popped off. But so like, views are cool. They feel good. You get more recognition, but like, there was no like more, it's not like there was a lot of dollars or, any income coming from
Mhm.
that. That's right. But then what ended up happening is like, as I was consistently posting and staying, right, just staying on it and continuing to trust the process, now about 4 or 5 years later, right, there are opportunities where like when I start a podcast and I reach out to companies and then I ask them if they want to sponsor it, they're willing to write the checks.
Mhm.
And it's because I've been consistent, right?
Mhm.
So I wouldn't say there wasn't a moment. It was a sequence of events, and it was honestly more so the actual consistency piece.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, that's how I would say that.
Yeah, if I'm not wrong, you are sort of advising people to just be authentic in the content that they put out. And I think it definitely is hard though, right? Because you're going to face setbacks. But one of the reasons that I want to bring up this conversation is that I think there's a lot of not even just dental students, but even like let's take medical students, people who are very, very busy in school are really trying to do something outside of just studying. And I mean, you could take working professionals in dentistry as well. What sort of limiting beliefs? I'm sure you maybe had some limiting beliefs when you were trying to start out at the beginning. Or that could be people saying that they don't have enough time to post content and stuff. And I think it's really sad to see because it's out there for everyone to just go and grab that opportunity. And once you actually crack the formula of, you know, making a personal brand, like you said, it opens up so many different doors. And it's just sad to see that these limiting beliefs are holding people back from doing things that they wouldn't even be able to imagine. So, what would you sort of say to those people who could be dental students or people who are already in practicing and stuff to sort of push back on those limiting beliefs and actually fight through them?
Yeah, great question. So, first of all, yeah, like the time thing, like you can always make time, right? Because when someone tells me like I don't have time, my first question is like, cool, what time do you wake up? And usually they're like 7, 8, whatever. I'm like, cool, how about you just wake up an hour earlier? There you go. There's some time, right? Or it's like, hey, why don't you pull up your phone and look at your screen time usage on average for the day and for the week? Cool. There's like several hours right there. Stop using your phone so much, right? So like that's how I kind of address that. The other limiting beliefs that I see when people are starting out is like, oh, no one's going to want to listen to me, or, oh, I'm afraid what people will say or how they'll judge me. And like the truth is, man, like on like if you want to elevate your life and, have different levels of success, like you literally have to go through the personal development to not care about what other people think about you. Like tell me one successful person that actually says, yeah, you should really take into consideration what everybody around you cares about you and thinks about you, because that's the most important thing for you to be successful, right? You shook your head no, because that's not what they say.
Yeah.
So then the whole thing is like, well, if you know that is a prerequisite to success, why don't you do something every single day that will help you build that muscle? Because once you do that, you literally don't even think about it. You're not even operating the same. Like the thing that is causing someone to not post, like, for example, there was like I said, when I first started, I posted a reel every single day. I set a goal. I was like, for 365 days straight, I'm going to make a reel at 5 a.m. in my robe and I'm going to post it. And people are like, well, what would you talk about? I don't know. I don't even know what I said half the time. It was some type of like motivational piece or something that came, because I was also like, right, I was like meditating, journaling, going through this whole personal development thing. I'm like, let
Yeah.
me just talk about the thing that's on my mind. And the beauty about the algorithm is like a lot of those reels sucked. So the algorithm didn't show it to a lot of people. But like, cool, like it's out there, but I guarantee you, like you won't, you know what I mean? Like if you go onto my like TikTok and you could probably scroll much farther down, like you'll see them and you're just like, you'll see the guy in those videos and then you'll see the guy today and you'll be like, is this even the same person? But like, you have to do that over and over again to get beyond it, because then once you do, like I used to get in my own head about posting a picture with just me in it. Like before I started posting content, seriously, I there was never a picture where it was just me. It had to be like my wife had to be in it or other people had to be in it. I felt like I was like, just being like super vain or whatever by just like posting videos or pictures of me. And now you go to my feed and like, dude, it's like me all over the place, right? So it's like
Yeah.
these are the little things that everybody has to just kind of work through. And the sooner that
Mhm.
the sooner that you just stop giving a shit about what other people have to say, or what they think about you, like the faster you're going to reach your goals. Like that's it. Like I could
Mhm.
literally, like if someone told me right now, like, hey, like would you record, like if I recorded this or recorded my take on this and posted, like I could just do it. It doesn't bother me. But that is
Mhm,
like a huge deal to some people when they start off because they think that like people actually care, but they really don't.
mhm. No, I think you're actually so right about that. It's just people have this fear of being corny, but I can't remember who said it, but there's one quote which is like, "Being corny is the bridge to from where you are to where you wanna go," something like that. I probably butchered that,
I
but
like that.
I think
That's
you're right.
good.
Yeah, yeah. I think it just encapsulates what it takes to have a presence online, right? That's always gonna be one of the things that you have to get through, and there's nothing that's gonna get you through it other than actually doing the thing, which is you nailed the point there, and I think that's so right. So yeah, without all this to say, dentists and dental students and everyone else should be posting content and should start building a personal brand, and I think we've really hit the point there. I sort of want to transition a little bit more to your journey. So the shift, you kind of mentioned this too. Dentists, once they graduate, they really expect the three things that you mentioned, I think were time, money, and fulfillment. And they expect this perfect lifestyle where you're working a few days a week, you're getting lots of money, and you feel good about what you're doing. But the majority of dental students, I'd actually go as far as to say most of them, and I think my mom's told me a couple of times too, many of them report feeling largely underprepared for what actual dentistry really is. And I want to sort of talk about that because we shouldn't be sold a lie as dental students, right? Or even young dentists. What was the mental shift for you personally from going from dental school to actually working in a practice?
The mental shift going from doubt to, sorry, what did you say?
Going from dental school to actually working.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, yeah, it was this whole, misalignment between expectation and reality. Like I thought that coming out, I would be prepared, I would be ready. But the truth is I just wasn't. So then I was like scrambling and literally trying to find a mentor, like, expose myself to information. But the tough thing is I was like, before a lot of docs were posting on Instagram, like the only thing they were posting was just like their veneer cases. So, and no one was posting, how do you do the veneer case? They were just posting the before and after. So it's kind of like, well, dang, this is not helpful. This just makes me feel behind because now I don't know how to do a veneer case. And like, I'm barely doing anything to my patients right now or helping them. So, yeah, I think it was a lot of the shift more so was like, what do I need to do to get better today? Like, so in the beginning, it was like, I need to get better at fillings because I wasn't good. So then, I was then looking to join a practice where I could get volume of fillings, and so that's where going to, like, a Medicaid practice or something like that, because you do see a lot of patients, you don't get paid a lot per filling or per treatment that you do compared to, like, a private office, but you will get volume. So I basically was like, "Look, let's just reframe this. Me working at a Medicaid office is an opportunity to see a lot of patients, help them, and then also, right, continue to improve my skills by doing fillings, extractions, and stuff like that." So once I put myself in that frame, then I was like, okay, cool. Like when I have a day full of fillings, like I'm like, heck yeah, I get to friggin' practice. I get to like, right, continue. It's called practicing dentistry, right? Like it's a practice. So it's like that's what I got to do. And I'm like, awesome. Now I got really good at them after doing, thousands pretty much because it's just
Yeah.
you're doing them all day, every day. And so yeah, so like, not too long after, it was like, okay, like I'm kind of good here, like I'm ready to learn the next thing. And so it's like, all right, I want to do more like crowns. So it's like, okay, well, I'm not really able to do a lot of crowns at this practice. So then I was looking for another one where it's a little bit more private office. And then so I went there. But then the thing that I had to learn there, yes, I was able to do some crowns, but then I had to learn about like case acceptance. Like, how do you talk to people? How do you talk to patients to get them to say yes to treatment when it's not like extremely subsidized by the government? Right. And so that is a skill.
Yeah.
It's right. It's actually case presentation. And so I had to learn that. And, again, today, the cool thing is a lot of that stuff is like on social. Like you can go watch like Dr. Brad Hughes and some other accounts where they're just pumping out this content, just literally giving you the tips, like showing you how to do it.
Mhm.
Yeah, you can't do necessarily hands-on stuff through social media, but you can get an idea, like you can kind of see. So, yeah, that's kind of how I bridged it where it's like, what's the problem? What do I need to go do to learn how to solve it? And then just go do it. And then understanding that after a certain period of time, there would be another problem. And then I'd have to go solve that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've hit the point there too. Most dentists, and this is kind of just generally speaking too, not even just in dentistry, but I think people look for an easy way out, right? And
Mhm.
you just have to figure out what it is that you want, and then there's always going to be a set of steps to go and do it. But I think speaking to dentistry a little bit even more, how much of those skills were taught in dental school? You mentioned a couple there about like patient interaction and stuff, because if we go into, I mean, this can extend into so many different conversations about, what should be taught in dentistry and what shouldn't be taught in dentistry. But the skills that you have picked up that you think have given you the most return on investment, how much of that is actually taught in dental school? And this obviously can differ from school to school, but, generally speaking.
Yeah, it's not taught in school. They don't teach it for I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know why.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty sad to see, and it kind of begs the question, like, then what's the point? But
Well,
you
so that's the
have to
thing. That's
get
why
through it,
whenever
right?
when someone asks me, they're like, "Oh, like if you could go back and do it again, like would you?" Or like, "Hey, what do you have to say to someone who want like, hey, I'm thinking about getting into dentistry and being a dentist. What do you think?" I'm like, "Well, you got to get really, and this is with anything, but like you got to get super clear on your why. Like, why do you want to do it? Because the journey of learning and getting good at it does not end after your 4 years in dental school. You're literally just starting. Like you're essentially paying to get the opportunity to then learn how to be a
Yeah.
dentist. So it's it's broken. Like the system's broken, but like cool. If a system's broken, you do one of two things: you complain about it and do nothing, or you go do something about it. And like there's people after you graduate that you can go learn from. You can do their free stuff and then you can do their paid stuff. And so it's kind of like this cycle where it's just like, well, what the heck? Like it's $500,000, for me to go down to school. Why do I have to keep paying to learn this stuff? What do I wasn't that included in the package? Doesn't that come with the degree, with the diploma? And it doesn't, man. Like it's sad to see. But again, this is why I started doing what I do. It's like, hey, this is a procedure where you can help a lot of your patients. You can make good money. You can do it in a way that is safe and predictable. Here's the guardrails. We have the support if you need it. It's on you, because it's like that's right. That's how this all snowballed into it, where I saw that this is not something that you're taught in dental school. However, I learned from a mentor, right? And then I took some other courses as well, but the courses were like in person and like not accessible. And it wasn't,
Mm,
content what like it's right, because then to me, I'm like, well, why do you have to fly to a location just to learn? Why can't you just learn at home? Why can't you learn at home and go do and then ask questions somewhere like on your phone? Because it's not like clear aligners there's no surgery. Like you don't have to you're not cutting in anybody's like gums or anything. You don't like have to drill in people's teeth. So from that regard, it's like, wait, why isn't this being taught? Right? Virtually with support. And so then again, I could have complained about it, or I could go create it and then, right, turn that into something that can go and help my colleagues.
Is that why you feel so strong about, this vision of helping dentists start their own journey on clear aligners because they weren't given the resources to actually do that in dental school?
Oh yeah, like that's definitely a part of it because it's like my thing is like I'm always optimizing for freedom. That's my thing. And I know other people want freedom, but they're not optimizing for it. And so for me, I look at it as like, you know, as a dentist, there's multiple paths to freedom. I'm only offering up a way to start getting if you go down one path. Because if you think about it, if you're a dentist and you're making like okay money, or you're not really making that much money, or you're making, even if you're making good money, if you're making good money, it's probably because like you are the one that's like having to go to the practice every single day and like do all these things and all this surgery and all that. So then what's the cost, right? There's a trade-off and a cost for everything. So that trade-off is like the health, like of your back and all that, and like the fact that you're physically there. And it can get like taxing. But like for the dentist who's not really making that good money, if you're optimizing for freedom, cool. Like there's financial freedom, right? There's time freedom, and then there's like right the freedom to actually feel as though you're helping people, right? And all that. But let's say it's even just time and money. Cool. So if you're optimizing for time and money, you should probably optimize for a procedure that you can charge a lot for, right? A high ticket item that doesn't require your time to actually be right there all the time. So it's like, it always comes back to like, well, that's clear aligners. Like that's what it is. So it's like doing that, right? Because I did that. Like, I think that if dentists do that, they at least now have the option, because now when you're making a little bit more money and maybe you're working 3 days a week, maybe that's your sweet spot. Maybe that's it. Like that's what you want. And then the rest of the week you're with your family, or you're traveling, or you're doing another hobby on the side. That is right. It's a stepping stone to more freedom. And then for me, it's almost just kind of like you unlock one level of freedom. So for me, the
Mm,
first level was like, cool, I just wanted to make more money and have more time. Got it with aligners. Then I was like, hey man, I would love to like teach other people how to do this because this is awesome. So I taught them how to do it. So then
mhm,
now the next level of freedom is like, okay, cool. Like I'm not in the practice anymore because I'm spending all my time building this business that is helping other dentists, right, get that level of freedom. And so that's where I was at, or where I'm at. And then now it's like, okay, well, like the next level is like even more of that, right? To where it's just like, cool. Like, how can we make bigger impact? How can we solve more problems? How can we do all that? And this is how you just get on like a level where you're just, I mean, my day to day is, yes, I'm a dentist, but like I don't think there's another dentist in the world that like has the same day to day as me, but it's by design because I made choices. I made trade-offs, right? I made a choice to like put the ego behind me, where a lot
mhm.
of dentists, they got to be the person that's treating the patient. They got to be the one where their hands are in the mouths, like they're doing all of this stuff. I was like, I'm cool if my hands are not in the patient's mouth. Like, I'm cool with that, you know? Somebody else can do that. That's totally fine, right? So it's like there's different levels to this. Like, I'm okay with the risk. I'm okay with the risk of having this business that's online, and maybe it flops. Maybe it doesn't work. Okay. I told myself, well, if it flops, I'll just go be a dentist. Like that's my
Right.
worst case. My worst case, because my licenses are still active, right? I'm still like staying up to date with CE and stuff. But like my worst case is literally everyone else's reality.
Mm,
So when you frame it like that, it's like, well, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you just try? And literally when I made that decision, like, you know, yeah, there's been some months and some seasons where, I mean, I
mhm.
not making as much as like if I was practicing, but like I have more freedom. Like I'm not in the office every day, I work from home, travel to go to conferences, travel vacation, stuff like that. So again, though, it comes with risk. It comes with trade-offs, and people who are willing to do it, you can have it. Because like if I could do it, literally anybody can have it, like literally. But yeah, that's that's kind of how I view that.
I feel like what you just described there is the epitome of just finding something that, you see true value in, and then creating a set of steps to actually not just help yourself, but then, like you said, there's levels to it, right? Eventually increasing it to the point where you're helping so many different people, and then they help other people. And it all starts from your own actions of you found out that you really like this niche procedure, and you saw the value in it and the value that it could provide for others. And for sort of any dentist that's could be listening to this and that could be interested in your program, could you tell me just a little bit about, the structure of your courses and what they would need to do to get help from you?
Yeah. So, if you're a dentist and you're wanting to do aligners, we have an online program. It's called Aligner Blueprint. All the information's on the website, but basically what it is, if you have a scanner or you're about to get a scanner, there's no like prerequisite on that. We do find that when doctors do have a scanner, they are able to have more success with the procedure because it's a lot more easier and streamlined workflow. But basically, you just got to be willing to commit like 4 hours to watching modules on how to start the procedure, and then being willing and open-minded to like take action after, knowing that you have support on the back end. So basically doctors that get in, they have access to those modules, resources to actually implement it, like scripts, workflow guides, stuff like that. And then they also get coaching. So every month we meet and we will actually have coaching sessions to help talk to the doctors about what's working and what's not working. And then they'll also get case review help. So they can submit their cases into this portal that we have, and an orthodontist or a general dentist who has a lot of experience will review the case for them and actually coach them through it. So it wasn't all this when I first started, but it has grown into that because I've seen, okay, where does everyone need help? And again, like, right, you need time to be able to, time and space to be able to understand how things are working and what's not working, and then to be able to iterate and create that stuff. So yeah, that's how we can do it. And then, if anybody has any questions about it in particular, like just message me on social media. I'm on Instagram, dr.avi, and happy to answer any questions there. We also have like free trainings that can kind of help give an overview of stuff. But yeah, that's what that looks like.
Yeah, and I can in the show notes somewhere, I'll put a link down below to all this stuff. But definitely check out the aligner blueprint. It will definitely help a lot of dentists, and you've already helped so many dentists, master the art of actually integrating clear aligners into their practice. Before we go, I do have, in hopes of having a signature question for the podcast, I tried asking this to, and I hope to ask this to all the future guests, a little bit unrelated to dentistry and trying without being too philosophical. People always ask, what's the meaning of life? And I'm not going to ask you that, but sort of a little tangent to that is, I'm sure you know who Alex Ramosi is.
Yep, big fan.
Yeah, so big fan too. He has this answer, which I think kind of defeats any answer I've ever heard, which is that the meaning of life is the reason that you don't kill yourself. And it goes like straight to the point. And it's blunt and it's sort of depressing, but I think it makes so much intuitive sense because the reason that you don't kill yourself is actually why you keep doing the things that you do day to day, right?
Mm.
And I think if you actually sort of think about that and like sit on it for a long enough period of time, you sort of eventually get to your answer. So with that, Dr. Avi Patel, I'll ask you, what is your motto and the reason that you keep going day to day?
What is my motto and the reason why I keep going day to day? So I think those would be two things. So my motto is everything happens for a reason. And the reason that I keep going day to day is because I believe and trust that everything will work out. So the reason why, so everything happens for a reason, right? That's my motto. Because anytime something comes up or anything happens that you can't explain or understand, it's just there's a reason. And if you look back, you can usually figure it out. And then the second piece was, what did I say?
You said you have trust in everything that it will work out.
Well, and I trust that everything will work out. And so that is, yeah, so I trust everything will work out because that's exactly like that. You said that's right. That's what keeps me going. Or that was the question, like what keeps me going? Yeah, I think I don't know. I keep going because things will work out. I think it's
Keep
like, it's
going.
tough because like I don't have like an end point. I think I used to think
Hmm.
in like frames of an end point or a big thing, but I think what happens is once you start hitting your goals, you then feel and you realize that you still like, cool, the goal was achieved, but then like now what? Right? So it's almost like to not have to feel something coming to an end or that slump that comes after, like you just keep going. So like what keeps me going is the sheer fact that I believe that things that I continue to do, will work out. There's not like you know what I mean? Like I don't
Hmm.
like, it's just like get up and like, because I'm going down to that frame of what you said of what Alex says of like, the reason why or the meaning of life is like the reason why you don't kill yourself. Yeah, I guess I don't kill myself because I know that whatever I'm doing, like things will work out the way that it needs to. Like I trust that.
Um, with that being said, Dr. Avi Patel, thank you so much for coming onto the show. I really appreciate it. And yeah, like I said at the beginning, I think the hardest part about this was, or at the beginning, is to build credibility, right? And the fact that you were able to say yes and that you agreed to do this is, I really appreciate it. And hopefully you're part of what hopefully becomes a successful endeavor. So thank you so much for coming on to the show. And yeah.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me.